Hello, and welcome to the WIDA Screener for Kindergarten webinar with Heather Orth. Today, we'll be learning about giving the WIDA Screener for Kindergarten to our smallest friends. We will describe the logistics for preparing to administer the WIDA Screener for Kindergarten, and we will locate the score calculator and generate the score reports online. So in this presentation, you will find the instructions and the resources for you to become familiar with the new WIDA screener for kindergarten. You will also see the WIDA certification requirements for giving this screener, and there will be guidance for implementing and scoring the screener in our USD. Any links that you need will be in the live presentation that will accompany this video. The WIDA collaborative frameworks are the basis for this screener. The screener is anchored in the WIDA ELD standards. Those are the Standard 1 in social and instructional language, Standard 2, the language of language arts, Standard 3, the language of math, Standard 4, the language of science, and Standard 5, the language of social studies. So the WIDA screener for kindergarten was created in order to align language assessments with these 5 language standards. The WIDA screener for kindergarten is designed to be able to assess 4 language domains: listening, speaking, writing, and reading. However, based on age and state recommendations, a different number of language domains will be assessed. This spring in Racine Unified, we will be assessing listening and speaking for our 4K students. Wisconsin recommends listening and speaking for assessing 4K students, so we are following this guidance. The WIDA screener for kindergarten domain administration is listed on this slide. The guidance gives that first semester kindergartners, as well as our 4K students, have the listening and speaking domains provided. Second semester kindergartners receive all 4 domains in the assessment, and first semester first graders will also be receiving this same assessment and all 4 domains. The guidance that we're following from Wisconsin is linked here in the Wisconsin DPI handbook with the special addendum for the kindergarten screener. You can click on this for the full information on how and when to administer the different domains and the different assessments. The test scheduling will begin on April 4th. It will end on May 20th. The assessment is normed for 4K students to be given in April of the 4K year. We will not be starting before April 4th, so please do not use this screener before April 4th. The screener can also be used in fall. So if you decide that a 4K student is on the cusp of either qualifying or not qualifying during this assessment window, please revisit and screen the student again in the fall when they return to school. And as a note, you will be using all 4 domains if you rescreen the student in the fall. So let me repeat that again. We will screen with listening and speaking only for 4K students this spring. If you are unsure if the student qualifies, or if there's a reason that you think you would like to rescreen the student to assure qualification, all 4 domains will be screened when we return in the fall. This will happen before the end of October. The test materials have already been sent to the schools. Each of you should have a packet of test materials checked out to you in Destiny. Included in the materials are the test administrator script, response booklet, storybook, and set of cards. The score sheets will be sent to you separately. The score sheet is only 1 page back to back. The test kits this year were checked out to all ESL teachers. In future years, they will be checked out as needed and housed at ASC. These packets will be returned to ASC at the end of the testing window before Memorial Day weekend. The score sheets and response books and any other materials can be requested in a Google form. Please keep all materials secure and locked up, as followed by testing protocols. Okay, now we'll talk about preparing for the assessment, the training and certification that you'll need, how to request materials in the teacher manuals, and how to get ready for the students. Training and certification can be found online at the WIDA Secure portal. Please look at this slide. Look for Screener for Kindergarten on the left side of the topics bar. Then to enter the course, click on Enter Course within the assessment box. Follow the steps in the training and then take the quiz. A passing score is 8 out of 10 correct on the quiz. Once you are completed with the quiz, then you will download your certificate and email it to me. Only ESL teachers who complete the training and are certified will be able to administer the kindergarten screener. Find and print a copy of your passing certificate on the WIDA Secure portal. This is what it looks like on the slide for where you will find your certificate. If you believe you already took this training in the fall, please go back and look for your certificate. In order to request materials in the future, you will use the link attached here to request testing materials and score sheets. There are also resources available to send home so families are aware of the assessment. The family resource can be requested on the same link that you request the assessment materials. The link to the page is also at the bottom of this slide if you prefer to print your own materials. This is something that can go to all students who you are going to assess. It does not go to an entire class that you're doing the home language survey with. Rather, it's for specifically the students whom you are assessing. A testing schedule needs to be developed once you identify the students. Make a list of the students who need to be screened, and then schedule and communicate with all involved staff. Schedule 30 minutes per student. The oral language assessment with listening and speaking should take at most 30 minutes. If you are giving the listening, speaking, writing, and reading in the future, schedule at least 45 minutes. The test administration occurs with all students in the listening and speaking domains first. Every student will take listening and speaking 1 and then move on to listening and speaking 2. At that point, it's determined whether the assessment is finished or they will be moving on to number 3. If you are giving all 4 domains, this is the opportunity to move on also to the writing section. This year for 4K, remember, we are only giving listening and speaking. So you are looking in the top box where it says oral language. There are 5 tasks. So what language domains are we assessing again? For 4K students in the spring, remember, we are only assessing listening and speaking. Can accommodations be provided for this assessment? Well, the answer to that is that they are already being provided. Accommodations are embedded as a universal design into this assessment. All supports are built into the WIDA screener for kindergarten. The built-in features include extended time, a human reader, and any large print. If needed, you can blow up any materials into a larger size. You are the human reader, and you may use as much time as you need. Find a quiet individual space for you and the student to work. Lay out the materials and get your best encouraging voice ready. Be prepared to spend 10 to 40 minutes with your student. First, you will read the storybook. Our story is called New Friends. We are assessing oral language with listening and speaking. So first, you read the storybook and the student follows along and listens. Read at a regular tone, a regular voice, and a normal rate of speed. Follow the prompts on the score sheet to know when to move on or to stop for each question. For the stopping rules, you will look at the directions for stopping or moving on the right side of the score sheet. Count only the correct listening across all levels. And then total the score after the student finishes testing. The moving on section at the bottom will show you what you need to do in order to stop or move on to the next section. For the listening section, the listening domain is assessed by asking simple yes and no statements in the first task. They are then followed by a more challenging and more comprehension questions. After reading the story, use the script and the cards to complete the listening assessment. Listening questions first start with simple comprehension points and high frequency words to name things in the picture. Follow the script. Do not repeat listening items unless the question is interrupted by a disturbance. Spoken answers are optional for the listening section. Students will respond to the prompts in many different ways. A student may point or have hand movements, or they may select the correct card and put it in the correct place. Students do not need to give a spoken answer. However, if the student only speaks the answer, the verbal response can be counted as a correct answer. Again, responses can be scored if they are either actions or verbal responses. In the speaking section, the speaking domain is assessed by prompting the student to use single words in the first task. That will be followed by longer phrases and finally sentences about a topic. The administrator script gives you directions on what to ask. Using the scripted questions rather than your own words or rephrasing the question ensures a standard, equitable test experience for the students. Follow the script. You may repeat the speaking task once, but only if the student asks you to repeat it. Only ask the student to repeat the answer if you didn't hear the answer. Speaking domain tasks start with simple questions. Name what is in the picture would be a first task. Then it moves on to describing something, and then describing in detail, and finally retelling a story. The administrator script shows clearly what to say as well as where to emphasize your speech when you are giving the assessment. Each task has an if necessary question. These questions are to be used only if the student has not fully demonstrated their speaking ability already. Use the if necessary question only if you do not have a complete answer from the student. The expect box will show you what you are looking for as an answer to the question. Speaking responses that use false or off-topic language are acceptable. If the student produces spoken English, score the response according to the expect box and the rubric, even if the student's answer is inaccurate or reflects a misinterpretation of the question that you asked. So, the rubrics for speaking are found in the back of the Test Administrator Manual. For the writing section, it is okay to encourage students to write what they tell you after they give instructions. You can say, "Great, try to write that down." Then you write down what the students say that they wrote, not what it looks like they wrote. It's helpful for you to sit at the left side of the student so that when you transcribe the final writing task, you can write in the box without taking the booklet away from the student. Score the student's writing using the rubric that is in the test administrator manual. Again, write down what the students tell you they wrote, not what it looks like they wrote. Again, the writing rubric is found in the back of the test administrator manual. It is the writing rubric for pre-K and kindergarten. For the reading section, students who reach this section have had a long testing experience. The cards are used to help keep the student's attention. Avoid over encouraging the student. They can read aloud, but they're not required to. You can encourage them, but they don't have to read everything on the cards. Score only the student's actions during the reading task, not based on what he or she reads aloud. The score calculator will be used at the end of the assessment. It is found on the WIDA Secure portal. Take a look at the screen on the bottom here to find the score calculator. Choose which score calculator to use based on how many domains were administered. If only the listening and speaking domains were administered, choose the screen on the left. If all four were administered, choose the one on the right. A score report for the student will be automatically generated after filling in the online information. Each domain administered will have an individual score. If only listening and speaking are administered, there will be an oral language score. If reading and writing are also administered, there will be a literacy score as well as a composite score. Scale scores are not reported on the WIDA screener for kindergarten. Composite scores may have half-point intervals. Composite scores come from listening and speaking to make up the oral language score, and writing and reading to make up the literacy score. If all four domains are administered, the overall score comes from a weighted combination of all four domains. When you send the score sheet by email to Heather Orth, please name the file as it looks on this screen, K Screener, and then the student number. Do not use punctuation in the name of the file. Keep the paper copy at your home school until the PDF appears in Infinite Campus. You may then destroy the paper copy of the file once you have seen it in Infinite Campus. Let's review the key points. Take a minute and see if you can answer these questions on your own. Who is assessed and when? What parts of the screener are used? What materials are needed? How do you request the materials? How do you score the screener? And how do you report the scores? Once you've taken a minute to review these, go on to the next slide. Who is assessed and when? That is our first box. 4K students who have an HLS form that states screen will be assessed, and that will be in April and May of this school year. Other students will be assessed upon entry to Racine Unified. The orange tab shows 4K students will be assessed using listening and speaking. Kindergarten students in the first semester next year will also be assessed using listening and screening if they are new. However, if you would like to reassess a student you used the screener on this spring, all 4 sections will be administered next fall. If new students come in kindergarten in the second semester, all 4 domains, listening, speaking, reading, and writing, will be used, as well as in first semester of first grade. The materials you need include the kit that you already have. In the future, you can request this from ASC. The administrative manual, score sheet, pencils, and a computer to score it online are all needed. In the pink box, this link will help you request materials. Fill out the WIDA screener materials form in order to request a kit, as well as request more score sheets. Use the score calculator on the WIDA website in order to score the screener. Enter the student's demographic information as well as the scores. When you are finished, email a PDF of this score report to Heather Orth. The scores will then appear in the Assessment tab in Infinite Campus. Score reports will show up in Infinite Campus after they are uploaded, and then you may throw away the extra copy of the paper copy at your school. If you have any questions or need support, please reach out to the Department of Language and Global Learning or me. You can also refer to the 2 links here, the Wisconsin DPI EL Handbook and the WIDA Screener for Kindergarten. This is the manual for giving the WIDA Screener for Kindergarten. Thank you for participating and good luck.